Now let's get a little bit more complex. The donut. It's essentially a cylinder that has been stretched and then bent into itself. So you have like pretty much these tiny cylinders that are all connected. In curvature. And I'll be showing you why it's so important to understand the rendering of the donut. So this would be the basic kind of loose wireframe of a donut. God, I haven't had a donut in so long. All right, so let's grab that light source, bring it over here. So going back to our first sphere lesson, any polygon that's facing the light source is going to receive light. So that part is going to receive light. As we face away, this is going to receive light, but not as much. So let's let a little bit light get there. And then there's going to be a coarse shadow because this stuff is obviously facing away from the light. And over here, definitely in shadow. Right? So the brightest part will actually be a strip of polygons here, but also here. Because as we go this way, these polygons are still facing that light. And then as we face away, it'll get darker. Right? So that's kind of what I really, really want to drive home. If a polygon is facing light, it will be lit. If it's facing away, obviously it'll be in shadow. Okay, cool. So from here, let's kind of just map out what's going to happen. It's going to be a coarse shadow here, a fall off of that coarse shadow. This part will be in shadow. And then here as well, there will be a coarse shadow with a fall off going this way, but there will be this part in shadow. And then this part will be the highlight, as will it be here. So if you zoom out, it looks like a nice little see-through donut with that specular highlight. But all of this will be midtone with a fall off, of course, going this way. Same as here, the fall off going that way. And of course we could put bounce lights and all that stuff to make it kind of fancy, but just please understand the concept of polygons receiving light. Do it very carefully, very slowly. It will be super helpful later on. Let's grab a value like this. I'm not trying to be too accurate. Again, I'm just getting the ideas across. I'm going to select the main local value and find its shadow value, which is halfway to black here. And put all of this part in shadow and all of this part in shadow. And just by doing that, it feels three-dimensional. Now, we're not going to get into, at least not right now, the fact that this would actually cast a shadow onto that right there. We'll do that later as things get more complex if we need to. And now we have these parts receiving highlights. I want to make that coarse shadow a little stronger. Oh man, I didn't lock the transparency. by understanding the polygons and the mathematics of halfway to black, we have a quick illusion of a donut. You could also consider it to be a bagel. All right, so earlier I mentioned that this will be important later on. I could get in there and make sure these values are more correct and accurate and all that, but it's not the point right now. But let me just do a quick example of where this will show up. So if you have just a basic mouth, the corners of the mouth actually do something like this, where there's a bit of a pinch. So if you imagine just that little donut floating there like this, and there's a light coming from the top, to get this to look like the person is smiling, much like this part is going inward and receiving a highlight, I'm going to put a bit of a highlight there and a bit of a highlight up here, and then putting this in shadow. And just by sneaking in that little donut in there, it makes the person look like they're smiling. Highlight, shadow, highlight. I should say midtone, not really a highlight for that part. So now you can always remember, donuts make people smile. Another place where that works is the belly button. So if we have a waist, anterior superior iliac spine, some clothing, whatever, rib cage is up here. If you have a belly button here, the same thing applies. Just imagine this donut situation happening here, where the wireframe is kind of like that. And you put a highlight there, like here. And then all this part will be in light. And then this would be in shadow, and then shadow. And now that you know how this works with form and polygons, you could put this light source anywhere on that belly button or the mouth and know exactly what will receive light and what doesn't. That's why it's so important to understand form.